Anytime we deny voters the right to vote on an issue, we continue to slip further away from democracy.
I'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Commissioner Edwards,
Nay.
Commissioner Menser,
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia,
Aye. Motion passes.
Relevant, important, convenient. This is ONN.
Item number 4, it's Commissioner's item, ordinance to create a countywide home fund.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This particular proposal is related for the board to consider imposing an additional sales and use tax of 0.1% for housing and related services. As a matter of background, in 2020, the Washington State Legislature approved House Bill 1590, and as a result, the governor signed into law amending RCW 82.14.530. And this is related to the use tax for housing and related services. This particular action by the legislature authorized the legislative authority of a county or a city to impose a 0.1% of a local sales tax by a councilmatic action. In the 2021 legislative session, House Bill 1070 passed into law by signing the governor, which amended RCW 82.14.1.530. This particular amendment stated that at least 60% of the revenue generated by the 0.1% of this additional tax must be used for constructing or acquiring affordable housing, constructing and or acquiring behavioral health related facilities, or acquiring land for that purpose, funding the operations and maintenance costs of new units of affordable housing and facilities. The housing and facilities may only be provided for the following groups whose income is at least or below 60% of the county median income. Those are people with disabilities or behavioral health disabilities, veterans, senior citizens, people who are homeless or at risk to being homeless, including families with children, accompanied homeless youth and youth adults, and domestic violence survivors. The City of Olympia voters approve an additional 0.1% of the sales and use tax under RCW 82.14530 during the special election on February 13, 2018. The City of Olympia passed ordinance number 7127 on March 6, 2018, implementing the Olympia Home Fund, which is 0.1% of the sales tax. Also, the City of Olympia Council approved a resolution of intent on January 12, 2022 to bring their home fund dollars to the Regional Housing Council in coordination with the County Home Fund if that is approved by the board this afternoon. Also, the City of Tenino approved an additional 0.1% of the sales and use tax in accordance to RCW 82.14530. This particular action by the Tenino City Council was via councilmatic, and it was under ordinance number 919, and it was taken on January 11, 2022. On June 14, 2018, the Thurston County Board of Health adopted resolution number H2 2018 declaring homelessness a public health crisis, resolving to provide support and leadership in effective community wide collaborative coordination, planning, and policy efforts to end the crisis and to implement actions that will reduce homelessness, increase affordable housing development opportunities, and address the health, safety, social, economics, and environments of our citizens. This particular action also includes creating a new chapter in Thurston County Code. There's Thurston County Code Chapter 5.51, which it will be added to the regular Thurston County Code. They add some of the prescriptions of this particular legislation. Among those, some of the items in the new chapter will include the recommendations of this use and sales tax for affordable housing related services, that the Regional Housing Council shall make funding recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for this final approval on eligible projects and activities to be supported with monies collected from the tax authorized by RCW 8214530. That the Regional Housing Council recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners shall be based on the work and recommendations of the Community Advisory Subcommittee. The such Community Advisory Subcommittee of the Regional Housing Council shall be composed of community members, including private stakeholders representing all areas of Thurston County. Also, the Board of County Commissioners shall exercise their vote on an up and down vote, approval or rejection vote on the funding recommendation by the Regional Housing Council. If the majority of the Board of County Commissioners rejects such recommendations, those recommendations will refer back to the Regional Housing Council. Also, in this particular legislation, the Board of County Commissioners requires the Regional Housing Council shall develop and submit to the Board of County Commissioners an annual performance report outlining specific deliverables of the uses of the sales and use tax for housing and related services. Also, the Board of County Commissioners directs the Regional Housing Council, they shall publish on their website the sales and use tax for affordable housing and related services annual performance report and make it available to the public via news release or any other means on the first quarter of every year thereafter. This particular legislation also includes, as a result of the City of Olympia passing their own home fund, as well as the City of Tenino passing their own home fund, the such collection and distribution of the receipts will include a credit against its tax to the full amount of the tax imposed by the City of Olympia and the City of Tenino, and that is pursuant RCW 82.14.301C. That's what I have for you in terms of opening remarks for this particular item, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you for that. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
I don't necessarily have questions, Madam Chair, but I am very concerned about this expenditure into the future. And over the next 10 years, we're slated to raise and spend about $50 million. And recently, the Columbian, a paper out of the Vancouver area, wrote an article that Western Washington is exceeding growth in the homeless activities, even more so than California. Senator Linda Wilson from the 17th District was being interviewed about this topic as that came up. And I really do feel that anytime we're going to put together a plan to put more money towards a project like homelessness, and the amount of money we're talking, that this should always go in front of the voters. Even the City of Olympia put it in front of their voters, and I might note they passed it overwhelmingly. And we heard during public comment that there were a large number of folks very supportive of this. But I have heard from my constituents that they don't think throwing money at the problem is going to be the solution. And anytime we deny voters the right to vote on an issue, we continue to slip further away from democracy. And so that is why I am opposed to doing this through the councilmatic process. I am very much in favor of putting this on the ballot and letting the voters have their say. So I will not belabor the issue. I've spoken often about this concern that I have, and the democratic process will prevail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Menser, any questions?
No questions. Save comments for the discussion on the motion.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I would move to approve an ordinance imposing an additional sales and use tax of 0.1% for housing and related services as authorized by RCW 82-14-530 and adding a new chapter to the Thurston County Code.
Is there a second? I'll go ahead and second it. I'll call, any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I, as well as Commissioner Edwards, I've spoken on this a few times, but since this is kind of the final piece of a long journey, a few things I wanted to say. I think this is a very important step that Thurston County is taking. There's been a few times in my 3 years in office that I've been able to do something that I felt was really, really significant. And there's a certain feeling I get when there's an issue where I support it, but I'm not 100% sure where the community is at. And then we go through the process and you feel the community support and it feels really good to then be able to go ahead and advance that initiative. A couple things that spring to mind. When I was on the Intercity Transit Board and we got to vote, I got to cast a vote in favor of the Zero Fare pilot project. When I was on this board, on a previous board, and we had a chance to preserve the most ecologically sensitive area of the community, Rocky Prairie, through a land use action. And I would put this action in that category. My wife likes to say you got to spend money to save money. And I think that's particularly true when you talk about permanent supportive housing. It's kind of an expensive upfront proposition, but there have been study after study that shows that investments of this kind save the community money in police, prisons and prosecutors, in hospitals and emergency services. This is a good way to go for the community. And we have a unique opportunity right now to capitalize on the federal relief money that Thurston County has received. That money is eligible for expenditure on acquisition of housing, but without the ability to provide ongoing funding for the wraparound services, you can't make use of those dollars in the most effective way. And Olympia was able to pass it. They had to pass it before there was a councilmanic option that our local state legislator, Beth Dolia, was able to put in place, looking directly at the needs of Thurston County and in our region. We have new statewide polling that's been done, comprehensive, that shows that this is a foremost issue on voters' minds. They expect government action on the homelessness issue. We have, the city of Tenino, as the county manager pointed out, just passed this councilmanically, showing that even just an exclamation point on the fact that this is a regional issue, that even a community like Tenino understands that these resources are needed for to dealing with this issue across the county. It's not just an Olympia issue. The city of Lacey, for the most part, their debate, as I understood it, was about whether they would pass it councilmanically themselves versus working with the county. And it wasn't about whether or not there was a need for this or whether this type of action was appropriate. So all of that underscores the regional scope of this and the appropriateness of this action. On Commissioner Edwards' point, I would say that up to 40% of the money here can be used for mental health treatment and facilities, something he's talked about a lot, something I've talked about a lot, Commissioner Mejia, we all know. So to the extent that his point proves to be right, that this money is not being effective, the money's flexible enough to meet another gaping need of this community, which is mental health treatment and services. And then I want to emphasize one extra wrinkle here, which is that we've worked hard to build. So what you're getting for this is not just a discrete county program. We have built a regional collaborative framework. We have a resolution from the city of Olympia and a mandate for an interlocal agreement that will completely align our resources with the resources that are already being collected by Olympia, streamline the decision-making process through a citizen advisory committee and the regional housing council, on which all of the elected officials from all the jurisdictions sit, in order to create efficient, high-impact projects and good oversight of the money that is being collected here. So I think the community really gets a good value out of what is being proposed, and I'm really excited to be able to support it.
Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I would just like to close. I appreciate Commissioner Menser's position on this topic, but there is no requirement that we have accountability. And there's going to be continued deviant behavior on the part of many because of that. Commissioner Menser mentioned that, yes, we're going to be able to do some treatment activity, but it's all voluntary. And some of these people need a nudge. They need some help so that they can be mandated to take treatment for both mental health issues and for chemical dependency. And shy of issues like that being required, we're just never going to get ahead of it. And I conclude my statement. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll just say some points. I do agree with Commissioner Menser, and some points that Commissioner Edwards made as well. I mean, this has been a long process. We've been talking about this since early last year, and it's been a work in progress. We've put in a lot of hours working with the other jurisdictions, making sure that this resolution, would be up to par and that everyone was in agreement. There were, a lot of different opinions at first, but then we all came together and really, it's really formidable. And many other counties have enacted this home fund already. We're not the first who's going to jump on this. But looking at the other counties' resolutions and looking at ours, I'm really proud at how we've been able to work with our partners in this, because it really is a regional issue. There are several projects that will need this funding. Commissioner mentioned that we are using current ARPA funds, but just the ongoing maintenance of all these projects is going to take use of the home fund. And there are still more projects. Yesterday I had a meeting with someone who's trying to build workforce housing, and they were seeing if they could access funds, and there's going to be many more projects like this that are really, we're so behind the curve already that just doing this, it's going to help us advance them, because we haven't really been funding mental health. We haven't been funding housing. We haven't been funding different programs, and we are here, and I just don't think we can continue to do anything. So with that, I will go ahead. It's been moved, seconded. We've had some discussion. I'll go ahead and call for a vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menser?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes.
Hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching.